Welcome everybody to the very cold, in my area anyways, Synthwave Hangout with me, Dave, aka Memory Design, and as always, we have Dominic, aka Warren, with me. Are you there, Dom?
Never.
You know, I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you to pull this silent thing again on me.
I'm gonna wait till you basically don't expect it anymore.
You're right.
And then that's when it's gonna happen.
It's got to have maximum amounts of, embarrassment after for me. That's ultimately the goal.
Just trying to cause the most amount of stress.
Perfect.
On you as much as possible.
Yes, and today has been very stressful, which we talked about a bit. But the important thing right now, anyways, is that I have, or we rather have, a very special guest on that's really interesting for me. It's kind of a reversal on how things normally go. But today we have on Dan Ichis from, who's the president of RetroSynth Records, also known as DMME, also known as Miami Dan, and also known as one half of the band Neutron Dreams. Are you there, Dan?
And Marathon.
Hello.
Hello. Right, and Marathon Dan. Not anymore. No more.
Not anymore.
No more 20-hour streams or whatever it used to be back in the day.
I have to do that again once. Once in the blue moon, maybe I'll make like a big deal out of it. With a bunch of promo. Hey, I'm going to be on for 6 hours today.
Right. Exactly.
I liked my Marathon Dan. Like that was I thought that was like a term of endearment.
Well, for some people, it is. I mean. I like doing it sometimes, but there was a whole cost versus reward thing going on.
For sure.
So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the amount of time it takes to do that kind of stuff, and then it's like that whole amount of time is just sucked out, right? And then it's like when I feel this even just after a 2-hour show here, where it's like, oh my God, now life restarts again. That feeling, and you're like, okay,
right.
like
where did the time go?
Right, it's like you've been on an airplane or something for like the last 2 hours, and then you all of a sudden have to catch up with everything.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like my everyday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I wake up, the kids go to school, and then the time I have is usually like 5 hours to myself, usually while they're at school. And then I am literally like, it'll be 2 o'clock out of nowhere. And I'm just like, okay, well, there goes the day.
Yep. Oh God.
Yeah, that happens quite often, especially when I was doing the whole marathoning thing. It would just go like right out the window. It's like, especially if I did like 6 hours, if I started at like noon, or like when the old Fridays. Oh man, the one time I think I did almost 8 hours.
Oh my God.
But I started at lunch, my time, so noonish.
Right.
And I didn't get done until 8 p.m. my time. Yeah, because the shows used to, on Friday, I would run the shows till 8. And
wow.
That's when I had like 30 submissions to play, plus, all of our new releases, plus, I had the vinyl in there too. It just, before I knew it, 8 hours have gone by. I'm like, what the frick just happened? Wow, how did I lose 8 hours? I mean, and I'm doing other stuff in the meantime, not just sitting here constantly for 8 hours, But,
right.
Yeah, but you blink and it's gone. It just
it's kind of like a good gaming
The show is
session.
exciting. If you got a lot of stuff going on in the show and it's exciting, time is relative. It can make that time just slip by super fast. And you blink and 8 hours are gone. So
yeah, it's kind of like when you're gaming or something. You know what I mean? Because I'm the same way. Like, I'll game sometimes, specifically in the past. But I remember there were times where I was like, there would be like 6 hours, and I'd be like, I've been playing this game for 6 hours. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, that would be me and Skyrim back in the day. Like,
I
was completely lost in Skyrim, and I would come to, my wife would come to me. She's like, you've been sitting at that laptop for like 4 hours. I'm like, I just started this quest. She's like,
right.
4 hours. Do you think you might want to, stop, maybe come to bed, that kind of thing? I'm like, yeah, I guess I should, huh? And then when I heard that they were coming out with like a virtual reality 3D completely immersive version of Skyrim where you can put on the Oculus and stuff like that, I'm like, nope, forget it. I know myself. I will get too lost in that, and I will never. I will lose my job.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't heard from you in like 3 months.
My kids will have nothing to do with me because I will never leave the game.
Right. You're just going to be in your studio, like jacked in all the time, right? Just like in the Matrix.
Long hair.
I'm waiting for, speaking of studio, I'm waiting for the technology to finally come up so that it makes virtual reality or like that whole immersive 3D experience where we can do like the whole Tony Stark thing where we can control everything with just our hands or thoughts, where I don't have to sit there and type a million things into my keyboard or play with the MIDI controller. I can just, think things, or I can move things with my hands that are on a virtual screen in front of me and compose music. That would be the dream. That would be killer right there, So.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I know. I don't know. or I guess I don't know. If you guys experience this, or if other people, musicians do, but like I'll often think of music in my head, and I won't be able to fully reproduce it exactly like I'm thinking of the parts and everything. And wouldn't that be interesting if you could then somehow translate that through this kind of technology to MIDI or something
Especially
like
if
that?
you're like,
I don't think
you know,
you can, though. I don't
if you're
think
like
you can.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't think you could. The only reason I'm saying this is because I think that like we've talked about this like almost on every show, Dave. But like I feel like we all chase this mystery sound and note that just doesn't exist. I think it just doesn't exist because in our heads we hear like I don't know about you, but like I hear like a full production happening. So there's like a full like a what is the spectrum of sound happening.
Yeah.
So it's multiple notes probably at once, but I can never make it happen either. But I don't know if like the brain could properly translate that is what I'm saying. Like, I mean, maybe the hand motions and stuff like that, but I don't know about music. I feel like that's such
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, it's almost like a spiritual thing.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like you feel it.
That's why it would be absolutely fascinating if it was possible. You
Sure,
know,
I
because
agree.
how could you then translate that over? But Dan's working on that. He's got nothing going on. So,
Yeah.
Dan, you just start
Yeah.
working on that, okay?
It's one of the
just
other
start-
things I'm working on in my spare time.
Dave's got the shirts. Don't worry.
Yeah. Dan, in your spare time, could you pick up this new future project, please?
Right, exactly.
Just
No,
save all of humanity.
it's that thing. Like, I don't know about you guys and other musicians, but sometimes, you know, it's when you're just vegging out, you know, for guys, we go into our nothing box, you know, and that's when some of the best musical ideas happen, but you're nowhere near your studio, or you're in the shower,
Yep.
or you're using the bathroom or something like that. That's when like the most, or like I'm waiting outside of a store for my wife to get done shopping, or my kid or something like that. That's when the music ideas hit. And then if you don't have anything to like jot it down right then and there, or you're not near your studio, sometimes it's just lost. So what I've started to do is just use my cell phone and then just kind of like hum something into it or something, and then that will usually work out into a fully fleshed out idea, but it doesn't usually always translate well. You know?
And then when you hear it,
exactly what Dom's saying.
when you hear it back, happens to me all the time. Like, I mean, you're like, I got to get this melody down on my phone, and then when I hear this back, I will be able to translate this into some amazing song. You listen to it back, and you're like, what is this? You know, like, like it's just you being like da da da, right? But at the time, it was like this this epic orchestral, you know, thing or something like that, and you're like, this is totally not working for me. But
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, like I hear epic intros in my head all the time, and then I go to make them, and it's like, "Fur, fur, fur, fur."
Right.
Yeah, I tend to get a lot of ideas like this when I'm mowing the lawn, believe it or not. If I'm not, because I'm usually listening to music, but if I'm not, I'm just kind of like thinking of stuff, you know? And then you're absolutely indisposed at that point, you know, unless you drop everything and go like record.
You know, I have to put the lawnmower down now.
Right.
Studio.
Just running in, grass everywhere. You're like, but listen to this melody. You know, like I'm sure the wife would love that, right? You're like,
Right. Well,
grass everywhere.
They're wondering and they're looking at you like, what are you doing?
That's right.
Like, when you get older, you'll understand.
So we got a lot of projects and interesting stuff that we're going to be talking about in a little bit with Dan. Dan's got a few different things going on coming up. I don't want to get into it right now. I was just thinking I was going to ask you about it, but let's do this music block first, and then after this, we'll start getting into some of these projects you're doing, and I want to talk to you about some of these remixes and everything. So if there's nothing else, then I will move on to this next block. You got anything else, Dom?
No, I'm good.
All right, then I'll talk to everybody after these next 3 songs.
Awesome.
And those last three songs were Port Aransas by Pashang, Pulse and Run by Phaserland, and you just heard Timeless by List and Outrunner. And I'm trying to remember to give all of these names, as I know this is also now on RetroSynth Radio. So for the listeners, if you're listening back to this, hopefully I can get on this and keep doing it. But Dom, feel free to hop in and remind me if I do forget this.
No.
Thank you. You're always there for me. That's why I love you so much.
Best way I can, friend. Yeah.
So Dan, we have a myriad of different projects and very cool stuff that we have coming up. The first one I want to talk about is your DMME project, because I've always been a really big fan of that kind of atmospheric, almost like meditation music, ambient tracks, this kind of thing. And I remember when you first were like, yeah, I'm going to drop this solo project, and I heard it, I was like, oh my God, like, what is this? Like, this is incredible. You know, and you're like, yeah, you know, and one thing you're always really humble about all your stuff, which is really cool, you know, in many ways. And you're like, yeah, you know, you don't really have to support it or anything. And I'm like, no, this is excellent. We have to, people need to hear this. So I'm glad that we do have one of these tracks on here. But how did this project begin?
So, I've always had a love for more of the ambient music, chill stuff, and that stems from probably, I'm going to really date myself here, back from the first Pure Moods CD.
Oh, yeah.
The stuff on there, and this is how, you know, Chris and I get along so well, you know, my bandmate, is that he is a huge Jean-Michel Jarre fan.
Mm-hmm.
And Oxygen is on that album, and it sort of led me down, you know, the path of my fanship for this whole ambient new age, you know, meditation, you know, listen to while you're high kind of music.
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
that kind of thing. And I've always been kind of into that stuff. You know, I'm a not many people know this except for my family. I'm a big rock collector, crystals and
Right.
stuff like that. I've always been into that kind of stuff. I've been collecting since I was a little kid, and one of the things that I do whenever we travel to a new destination, new state, new whatever, I always try to find a rock,
Yeah.
you know, as like a memento to bring back home with me. And my family makes fun of me, but whatever. I don't care.
Right.
It's one of my things, you know.
We all
but
have
I've
our
kind of-
things.
Yeah, I've kind of
Honestly,
always been
interesting-
into that whole chill out thing. Like, I'm a huge Enigma fan, and
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So, I wanted to have a project that I could express myself in a way that wasn't synthwave, you know. And I didn't want to pollute Neutron Dreams all too much, because, you know, with Neutron Dreams, you know, obviously it's synthwave, but, you know, Chris and I were always trying to be like, well, you know, we don't want to put ourselves into a bucket yet. It's hard
Right.
to market something if you're not in a bucket, you know. I mean, it's kind of like all over the place. The listeners don't know what to expect, you know. So sometimes you'll have an album that's all synthwave, and then you'll have one that's completely off the wall, like our jungle themed one. That's kind of like out there, you know. But it's it's there. It's an
Yeah.
album, but kind of off the synthwave genre, like almost altogether. And I was gonna do. I was planning on the DMME project to go more into like a darker synth kind of thing. Actually,
Okay.
when I first started, and the earlier works I did that are on Spotify are that way. However, I started, you know, for just stress relieving purposes. I started playing some more ambient stuff while I was working, and then I guess, you know, kind of like how I discovered synthwave. The
Right.
YouTube algorithm thought, oh well, maybe you'll like lo-fi music, so it started sending me down that rabbit hole. I'm like, oh, okay, this is neat. This is like ambient with a beat, you know. So then I started going further and further down the rabbit hole. I'm like, okay, I think I want to try to make some of this stuff.
Oh, isn't that fun when you get to that point?
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, because a lot of music is made like this, right? Where you are inspired by something you like. And I think we've talked about this before, either you and I or Dominic and I, where it's like I'm kind of the person that wants to do something when I'm into it. I don't want to just experience it, passively. I want to then also, learn to play the guitar or build this thing or do something like that. So I know that feeling, and it's pretty fun.
Yes. Yeah. And that was kind of like the purpose of the whole album that I came out with. And, before I wasn't really appreciative of the whole vaporwave stuff. Like some stuff that I've heard, it was completely not creative at all. It's just literally a record slowed down. It's like, okay.
Right.
This really isn't a creative thing. I mean, I can just take anything I want and slow it down. Or you go on any YouTube channel and play it at half the speed. Boom, instant vaporwave.
Right, instant
really,
vaporwave.
What's the
not really
vaporwave
creative,
meme? There's a meme in the vaporwave community where it's like, it'll be like somebody will be like, I could have done this, and he goes, yeah, but you didn't.
Right, exactly.
You didn't do it first,
but
right?
you didn't. Yeah, and then I started seeing a lot more of synthwave videos where it has synthwave slowed plus reverb. That's like one of the biggest things out there. So I'm like, okay, and I started listening to a lot of it, and I started hearing some, one of my inspirations is Time Cop. I started hearing Time Cop. I'm like, this is already slow. It's Dreamwave, you know? And then I started hearing it slowed with reverb. I'm like, oh my God, this hits different,
Oh, it totally does.
And I'm like, oh, okay,
it's a whole vibe.
I can feel that. Yeah, so I started having a bit of a more appreciation for the vaporwave stuff or the slow plus reverb stuff. I started getting into chill wave, all that stuff. So then the lo-fi stuff started coming across my YouTube feed a lot. I just got deeper down the rabbit hole of lo-fi music. So I'm like, let me give it a shot. So I put together some different tracks, even produced stuff live on the fly, during a live stream. And one of the things that I'm known for around the house is my obsession for coffee.
There you go.
If you tap my veins, it'll come out coffee color, So I was like, what's a better way, to have a relaxing kind of atmosphere than a cup of coffee, while you sit down and you're relaxing, you're listening to the music at your business, at your job, while you're waiting in line. Have a nice cup of coffee, enjoy the coffee break. And that's how the coffee break came about. So, hence my trip down the lo-fi / vaporwave field.
That is, and it does hit that way. And I think that's why a lot of music that I like, and I think that's kind of why I like that, that office wave sound and stuff like, not saying this Phaserland is all that, but especially this new album has a lot of that kind of relaxed vibe to it as well. And
yeah, it does.
There's a lot of stuff like that I really enjoy. And it's almost like, it is like, music you would listen to while you're high, like you said, but it's, you don't have to.
I don't know what you're talking about.
To get that experience. Yeah, right.
I have no idea what that means.
And sometimes, synthwave can have I've heard negative connotations around synthwave. Oh, that sounds like elevator music. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Let me show you something.
Right.
Yes, sounds like elevator music. And then you put on like vaporwave or lo-fi and or it sounds like the music that you're listening to while you're on hold.
Yeah, here's the thing though. Okay, sometimes it is that's exactly what it is. It's just it's been used to make that track. That's why I think people feel that way.
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes I don't know about any of you guys, but if you've been on hold for a very long time with your cell phone provider and they put you on this unending hold.
Right.
Has anyone fallen asleep while on hold?
I've never fallen asleep, but I
have. I've fallen asleep while on hold.
That's incredible.
That was kind of like a little bit of an inspiration for me. Is like, okay, I really want to make some relaxing music, and part of the other DME stuff is actual ambient meditation, going to sleep music. And I have an album out. Actually, I have 2 albums out for my wife named Mandy, and then I have another relaxation album for another friend. Named Chris, not Chris that you know of from Neutron Dreams,
right?
But, he's like a mentor, and but he likes the ocean and he loves to do sailing. But he lives in the mountains, so
Right.
it's like his dream is to be on the water. So I made an ambient album with waves and ocean sounds and stuff like that. But both of them have a lot of stress in their lives. So I did a lot of research about how meditation music is made, and binaural beats, and
Right.
certain frequencies that can tune the human psyche to a relaxation meditative state. So I put that into place with those albums, and the ambient stuff was first, and it kind of just morphed into more like the lo-fi stuff now.
Well, it works. It's very relaxing, and I mean that in a I'm not just saying that. It is exceptionally relaxing to listen to.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't listen. Don't like I'm not going to listen to the DMME discography while driving across country. Is all I'm saying.
No, not a good idea. It'll put you to sleep.
So real quick before we go on to listening to some DMME, talk to me a little bit about this new Miami Dan project. Because we have this is, you've never played this before, right? This is the first time this is going to be on, or has it been on your show before?
No, the track that you have, no one has ever heard it.
Awesome.
Not even Chris. No one's heard it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys are the first to hear it.
Sweet.
So the Miami Dan project, of course, Miami Dan was dubbed by April.
Right.
I did not dub myself Miami Dan. She did, and it just kind of stuck and took off. Okay, I guess that's my DJ.
Far north of Miami Dan, right? Is what,
right.
is what
yeah,
you should be
I'm
called.
in New Jersey. I'm in New Jersey, but I have a love for Miami Vice. Obviously,
right.
I play Crockett's theme during my shows. And I think that's where it kind of came about. And if I ever was, a make-believe character, I would be Crockett from Miami Vice, so that's, it kind of stuck, and she took my face and she made me into an avatar kind of thing. And it started to work for the DJ stuff, for my shows on Wednesdays and Fridays. Right. And then as I noticed my DMME project, which, by the way, DMME, in case anyone's wondering, those are just my initials.
But it's also DM me, which is awesome.
Right. So you can direct message me.
Right.
Yeah,
I've always enjoyed that dual thing.
Yep, that's why I picked it. But that was getting away from synthwave. It was going into this more lo-fi, vapor, chill wave type thing. I'm like, I don't think it's appropriate to keep doing synthwave with that, and I don't want to do just pure synthwave with Neutron Dreams, because we're taking that into a completely different direction as well. So I was like, I think I need another project, and hence Miami Dan was born.
Nice. Yeah, and then after these songs, I want to talk about this, because I've heard a little bit about this new direction, and it sounds very exciting, actually. So, anything else, Dom, you want to add to this before we go on to?
No, I'm more or less just listening to Dan chat.
Yeah, it's I'm so used to hearing Dan talk, like I said earlier, like on the other end. Like I'm on the wrong end of this conversation right now, and it's very weird for me. And even though Dan and I are like the same age, it's like it feels like you're talking with somebody that's different than you. I guess because I'm just so used to him being on that other end.
At it longer than.
What was that, Dom?
What do you say?
Well, he's been at it longer than us too, so it's like that also adds.
Oh yeah, Dan, when you get on and you're talking on the mic and stuff, it's always like, yeah, so anyways, right? And you got this like smooth, velvety kind of feeling to it, even now when we're talking. So yes, definitely.
That's Bob Ross's influence on me.
Yeah, happy trees.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so I'll go over
another thing you do while you're high.
Right, exactly.
Really, paint happy little clouds.
I think secretly you guys are stoners. You don't smoke. That's all it is.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah, you're at heart stoners.
Right.
I mean,
we're audio stoners.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this first DMME track, we're gonna go through a DMME track, then the premiere of this Miami Dan track, and then when we come back, the third track here is your remix you did for Outrun the Night, the Dream Pocket song. So I want to talk to you about that a little bit when we get back, as well as the new Neutron Dreams projects. that I was lucky enough to hear before the show. And so, I mean, some of these newer songs I've never heard. The ones you sent me is what I mean. But anyways, let's move on. So this next one coming up is Vanilla Latte Dreams by DMME.
Don't you turn around. There's a shift in the night, keeping you to the ground. Keep an eye on the sky. Nothing left of the town, not a star in sight. Can't stop running now. We'll make the beach by the light. Together, we can outlast the fight. Together, we can outrun the night. Together, we will outlast the fight. Together, we will outrun the night. Isn't it a colorful sight to see it all from such a great height? Isn't it a stirring sight? The sky rains fire in the night. Did you see a blue flash in the sky? Did you see the orange glowing night? Did the flash burn away your sight? Who are they? Where are they from? And why? Together, we can outlast the fight. Together, we can outrun the night. Together, we will outlast the fight. Together, we will outrun the night. Catch up to the signs of the times. So lucky to escape with our lives. Together, we can outrun the night.
Oh, it did it again, where I'm just jamming out with the song, and then I realize that we're back. So this has become like a fun trope of the show. I'm like, yeah, I'm listening to Chris Payne play that piano that I love, and I'm just like, awesome. And then this song comes on, and it's like a wake up alarm, right?
Yep.
Oh my God.
That's fun. And it doesn't help that if you're listening to it on YouTube, it's on a delay.
Right.
Like for me, it was still playing.
Oh yeah, I never thought about that, even though it's
Right.
super obvious, because I'm hearing it, through my end, right? Just live as it happens. But so for guests on the show, it must be like you're listening to songs, and then all of a sudden I'm like,
And-
so anyways, how is everyone?
And me too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When I'm doing my shows, I always have to be aware of that.
Yeah.
Before I comment or anything on, especially if I'm doing the announcements. I don't want to get ahead of what you guys are listening to and seeing on the screen.
Yep.
So, because for me, it's immediate, but there's a delay.
You're right.
So you have to wait for the delay to figure itself all out.
So before I forget, what we just listened to was Vanilla Latte Dreams by DMME and Tampa Nightlife by Miami Dan, which is currently not available, but when do you think this is going to be coming out, Dan? Is this like a way in the future thing, or singles, or?
No, that's I'm gonna be doing the single. I'd say relatively soon.
Gotcha.
I am looking actually at our calendar right now because I don't want to bump in front of anybody else.
Special announcement today, right?
So yeah, let's do a special announcement like right now. That works.
Right. I'm turning into you, and it's live on Bandcamp right now.
Right now. So no, it's not live. I don't even have a Bandcamp even.
Just
set
throw
up.
them under the bus.
Right. Yeah. So you know what? Let's say the 26th of next week.
Okay.
Wednesday next week.
You heard it here first.
It'll be released and live, and that was the first live worldwide premiere ever. No one's heard it yet. So
yeah, that was a great song too. It's always nice when somebody is like all right, here's a premiere of my track, and it's actually really good, right? Because then versus it being just like okay or whatever. But so I appreciate you, doing good work.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, little blend of like, because with the Miami dance stuff, I still wanted to have kind of like a little bit of a DJ feel. So I felt like for my first stuff out of the gate, maybe a more synthwave meets EDM kind of vibe, so synthwave you can dance to kind of thing. So that's the premise behind the whole Tampa thing. And I was sort of inspired by my trip to Tampa and, being at Neon and all that other stuff. So I wanted to pay a little homage to that was, sort of like the beginning of the explosion of growth for retrosynth.
Right.
It was neat. And that happened in Tampa. So I was trying to find inspirations of how to name this song properly. And I was like, well, maybe I can give a little homage. And, since, Miami Dan is supposed to be from Florida,
right.
I figured Tampa is probably the, a good beginning point. So that's why it's named accordingly.
Very interesting. I was going to say here. So, Dom, are you still there, by the way?
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. He dropped off the planet again.
Dan and I are just rapping back and forth like we're on a call or something. And I'm like, did Dom drop off? I'm sorry.
You know what it is I have a tendency to, and Brendan, Pachane can back me up here because I have a tendency to just kind of take over in conversations and then, go on and on. So I try to limit how much I'm doing when we have a guest on because
gotcha.
I will literally, I'll derail the whole thing. I feel like sometimes. So it's like, sometimes I'm just like listening and I'm just waiting for a good point to hop in and say something.
I'll start developing just awkward pauses in the middle of the conversation. Where you
That's
can,
fine.
Where
You'll
you
start getting air horns.
You can just hop in with a like career-ending joke or something right in the middle of the conversation.
Right? Yeah. I'll just wait till it gets real quiet, and I'll be like, beep, 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 beep.
Right.
Right. The weird, awkward pause.
Right.
Start with a freaking air horn.
Well, here's the thing: is I really like awkwardness. Like, so sometimes the more awkward something is, the more I'm smiling and enjoying it.
Great. Well, that is fantastic to know.
Yes, and you do know.
Note
this
for the future.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I love awkwardness. Like, if I can make it awkward, I will.
Dan's removing you from like the retro synth guest list now and stuff like that for future events. He's like, no
Note
awkwardness here.
Note to self: don't let Dom talk to anybody.
Right.
Yeah, don't let me talk to anybody unless I'm an official business capacity. Then I'll be very professional. But like for fun, I do like messing with people. That's kind of like one of my things I like doing.
And then the second the job is over, right? It's just like all bets are off.
Which is probably why my kids and my wife hate me.
No,
because I just constantly. No, they don't hate me. I'm just kidding. No, but like I troll them all the time, so it's like they get the worst of it probably.
Oh God, I joke around with my family like, hey, you're probably more brutal than I am, but like my daughter has now developed similar senses of humor or a similar sense of humor to me. And that doesn't translate well, I think, to other kids because I'm very sarcastic and this kind of stuff. And so she's like making jokes to like a friend she has over or whatever. And they're just kind of like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's funny, right? Because we see, this word was said with this funny tone. And we think it's hilarious or something, and their friends are just like, what's happening here?
Yeah, no, my daughter does the same thing, and she'll complain all the time. She'll be like, she'll come home and be like, my friends they're not talking to me. I'm like, why? And she goes, well, I was joking around with them.
You're like, that's
and
it.
they got really upset with me. And I'm like, get used to that, honey. I'm like, because that isn't going to change. I'm like, you just got to find the people that like to joke around with you too. That's all.
Right. That's the curse that you now must bear.
Right, exactly. I've passed this on to you. Right. You're welcome. Question mark.
Right. It's the only thing you get in the will. Awkward joking ability and sense of humor.
For sure. My jokes don't always land because most of the time they're funny just to me, and that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. I'm right.
Sometimes you're just laughing in your own head.
I laugh at myself a lot.
Right,
So
there we go.
that's probably not the greatest trait, but I mean, I'm happy. So that's fine.
Self-deprecation is definitely a way to having actually a good life, because you don't take
It's a
yourself
skill.
too seriously, and you're not you don't hold yourself holier than thou above everyone else, where you can't make fun of yourself.
Yeah, if I
So,
ever
Yeah,
if I ever
Dom and I joke about this all the time, that we both do this to each other and to ourselves constantly, like in private conversation. Even it's like a huge part of our relationship. It seems like just like
mostly
joking
just does
about.
tongue on each other as much as possible,
Right.
And then like, I don't know, you know what it is, man, is like, if I ever get to the point where I don't care, like, and not that I ever will, but if I ever make it like famous or big or whatever, if I was ever to the point where I felt like I was thinking I was better than others and had this weird like air of superiority, I would hope somebody would put me in check, because I couldn't, I don't know, I just can't, that's the one thing I can't really like get into, like, is the what do you call it, the thinking that you're better than others kind of thing. I don't know, it's always drove me crazy.
Yeah, and people.
coming for you, Tom.
Sorry, Dan. What did you say, Dan?
I said I'm coming for you. Tom.
right.
That's fine.
Dan's gonna keep you in check right now.
right
I'll give you the biggest hug ever.
Yeah, Dan's like, look out your window.
I'm there.
I can already imagine Dan showing up, and then like I just grip him up into a big hug and lift him, and he's like,
Right, you just answer the door naked, and you're like, haha.
as usual.
That's
How
what you
I know.
get.
What I'll do is
Little
I'll
do you
call
know,
on the-
that's how I always answer the door.
right.
Right.
Well, I'll call you on the phone and be like, I don't know who you are, but what I have is a very special set of skills
Right.
that makes me a nightmare for people like you.
I love that everybody's so quick to say they'll slap me down. I love it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I will willingly take the slaps.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, everyone at the J. It was funny because when you were saying, like, I hope somebody would do this for me, I'm like, I guarantee you Pashang would keep you in check.
Oh, for sure. Prashant would fuck me. He would literally be the first person, I think, besides you, maybe.
Right.
That
he
would
would
be
be
like,
like,
"Hey, dude."
he would just be like, hey, brother, you're just a loser. Don't forget that. Okay, see you later.
I always remind myself, like, I'm 40. I'm making music in the basement while my
Hell
kids are
yeah.
trashing my house. Like, I come up with a lot of different things to remind myself to be humble.
Right.
And just to remember that I'm just living a normal life, and all I want to do is just make music that people can listen
Yeah.
to.
There you go.
Yeah, that is something that is easy to forget sometimes, especially if you start getting some attention or something like that. And unfortunately, not everybody in the community is humble, but I've found a lot of people are. A lot of people you wouldn't expect are. And
Exactly.
Dan and I have talked about this before. Just like,
Yeah.
Dan and I are both older. I mean, Dan's more than me, but old school, early synthwave fans and stuff like that. And like, as we're working more with these different people, it's like I'm surprised how open and just chilled out and cool these people are. And it's like no big deal. So
Yeah, especially some of the ones that you figure would be like way too far off or too aloof.
Yeah,
that they
for sure.
Would, give you the time of day to speak to them. At the end of the day, for the most part, in synthwave especially, 99% of all the artists, they're just regular people like you and I.
Yeah.
They some of them have regular jobs. They have a family. That kind of thing.
Some of them have like really good jobs.
Yeah.
Oh,
and some of
yeah.
them Just
Like,
some of them
there's
just do this just for like
scientists
a
and-
hobby, whereas others do this for a living. This is their job. But
Yes.
I mean, you can have a full-blown, artist, musician, such as Miami Nights 1984 or Power Rob,
Mhm.
right? They both do music for a living. But then you have people like Dr. Robert Parker. Robert Parker is a doctor.
Mhm.
He does this for fun. He doesn't do synthwave or music for a living. He's an actual like neural surgeon.
Right.
Over in
Right.
Sweden.
Well, I know one of the main vaporwave dudes is a dental surgeon, like a
Yeah.
macrofacial reconstruction or
Right.
whatever he does. Is like that's what he does is like his main job. But then he's also like a pretty prominent vaporwave artist on top
Yeah.
of it. So it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. And then you got people like Crispy. Remember, he's a scientist.
Yeah, Dr. Crispy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Dr. Crispy, right? Yeah, scientist, right? So it's like, and then I think Addictum. Well, we talked to him. He's also a scientist as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, there's a lot of people who just do this, like Dan said, it's like a side thing, and that's like, but it's also like their passion aside from what they're doing. So.
Right.
I don't
Excuse
know,
me.
music's a beautiful thing. I love music, and I think the best thing about it is that we all come from across the the world and do this together, and
Right.
it is honestly, like, it literally blows me away every day, like the amount of love and respect we all show each other. And there goes my dog.
The dog's part of the show, man. Loud and
I know,
proud.
right? Part of
okay?
every show now.
I'm with it.
Louis, my dog Louis, he barks at everything. If there's a rabbit, if there's somebody walking by, if the wind blows the window the wrong way.
Yeah, well, he's got the same dog energy as mine, where it's like, if a little kid walks by the house, they better watch
Yeah.
out, because
Yeah,
my
it's like
tiny
you.
dog is going to defend this palace to her death. You know what I mean? Like, how dare a child walk by the house?
Right. Yeah, that happens. It's part of having a dog.
My favorite part, though, about talking with Dom, with your dog stuff is you'll call your dog by its full name when you're yelling at it, like it's like
Yeah.
a disobedient
Like he's my
child. And it's
Yeah, he's Louis when I'm
yeah,
angry.
Lewis is it would. For some reason, to me, you yelling Lewis at a dog and disciplining it is just endlessly hilarious, and I love that.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, it's funny to me. I've always named my animals like regular human names. Like, I know a bunch of people do, but like mine are like, I always do like old school. Like, we have a dog named Emma, we have another dog named Penelope, and then I have Lewis. And
Lewis hits differently for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Louis is a good
I
guy,
have
though,
to
man. Louis is
agree.
my boy.
Yeah.
Lewis is my boy, dude.
Like, imagine
He's,
Dan. Imagine like screaming Lewis at the top of your lungs at a dog running away.
Right.
I don't know why. It's funny to me.
Yeah.
like, Lewis, knock it off.
Right. It's like you're yelling at your kid,
Right.
It's a furry member of the family
Right.
that you're yelling.
Right, I'm just like, Lewis, I've had enough. That's it.
Right. It's like, uh-oh, Lewis is gonna get it.
Yeah, that's enough, Lewis.
Let me ask you about these Neutron Dream songs, Dan. You said,
Yeah.
I mean, when you sent these over to me, I looked through the Bandcamp and I was like, I didn't know these, right? And I was like, did I miss these? Because I try to get to know everyone's music a little bit. And so these aren't on Bandcamp, right? Is that what you were saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Not there.
Right. So I have In the Night and then Tangent Nights. Is there anything you want to say about either of these?
Sure. Yeah. So, a little bit into the future of what's going on with Neutron Dreams is part of a mission that we're doing, and with Chris too, especially, is part of the future is the past, and again, that's the whole synthwave thing, right?
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that has never been heard by the public in general, at least not the synthwave public, not the synthwave community and fans. Tangent Nights has been rebranded as a Neutron Dreams track. However, it is specifically a Christopher J. Payne track.
Okay.
Tangent Nights is the very first song that I ever heard from Chris. That's kind of how we met. So he had a whole album. The album itself is called Tangent Nights, and that is the title track on the album. It's also one of the best on the album. And when I first heard that, and he said, "Hey, I want to work with you as far as making music for this, video game mod that you're working on," I was like, "Okay, let me hear your stuff," And this is 16 some odd years ago. So he sends me this track, and I'm like, "Whoa, why does this hit different? Why does this sound the way that sounds?" And this is before I knew what synthwave was. This is years and years and years before synthwave. So I'm listening to this. I'm like, man, it sounds like 80s and 90s put together. And it's like, and it sounds like it could work for this video game thing we're doing. Okay, yeah, let's give it a shot. And we started, down this rabbit hole of making music for this mod, this video game. So that's kind of like how everything got started. Like there would be no retro synth, Neutron Dreams, or anything if it wasn't for that song.
That's amazing. I'm moving this song first, by the way, so everyone can hear it first. That's cool. I love stories like that where it's just one little thing, one chance meeting leads, if you look back, blossoms into this, huge thing.
At random, like, so, the little background, for those who are just hearing this for the first time, that was my, other than being in band and choir and stuff when I was a kid and playing instruments when I was a kid, my first real foray into electronic music and producing it was for this game. So the game is called Sins of a Solar Empire, and there happens to be a part 2 now that's on sale. But it's a space conquering game,
right?
And I wanted to create my own universe, my own vision of it inside this game, where you can pick different races and stuff like that. But I wanted to blend like all the different science fiction things out there, Star Wars, Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, all this stuff into one playable game where you can have Star Wars versus Star Trek versus Battlestar and all that stuff. And I wanted all custom music, so it was all in this on their website in this forum, and and this is again all before Facebook was a thing. In this forum, I'm posting about what I'm looking for, and I just happened to get this random post from this guy. He says, "Hey, I make music. I'm like a one-man orchestral band. Do you think I could make music for you?" I said, "Sure. Can you send me a sample?" And Tangent Nights was the sample.
Right, an excellent resume to send over.
Right, yeah, and then it blossomed from there, and from there, him and I became friends, and then we, this is back in FL Studio 6 days.
Wow.
Fruity Loops is what it was called back in the day. We shared a copy of it so that we can, because I didn't have two pennies to rub together. And he's like, "Here, you can, we can share this. He's
right.
Like, just don't share it with anybody else." So we both worked in the same license of FL Studio, creating music for the game, whether it be ambient chilling, you're just drifting through the cosmos kind of music, or like hardcore battle music. So that's kind of like how all this came to be. And then eventually that friendship and everything blossomed into Neutron Dreams.
What's interesting about that is it's kind of like the way Dave and I met in a way. Like, not through the video game or anything, but it was just like happenstance.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just funny how that works. Like, Dominic and I met on a random music show on YouTube, and then started talking, and then, talking with Sam, and Sam was already talking with you, and it's just weird. I love little things, like I said, I love little things like that where it just blossoms into this cool new part of your life that you never had before.
Yeah. Like I was completely, I wasn't looking, I wasn't looking to make an online best friend with, a music producer that's partially blind,
Right.
But has a set of ears that I've never experienced before in my life, and I do mean that musically. I have like elephant-sized ears, but
insane ears, right?
Right, because I he sees it as a curse, and I see it as a blessing in disguise,
right?
Because he can't see all that well, so he relies on his ears. Well, when you rely on your ears for everything that you do, they become super aware and attuned to different things. So he could hear things in tracks that I could never hear, which is why, of course, he's now our in-house mixing and mastering engineer, because of what he does, And is he right all the time? No. I'll flat out tell him, "Dude, this sucks. Go back to the drawing board." But as a best friend, I can do that. I'm like, "Bro, what are you doing to me?" But 99% of the time, I don't have to do that. I just. Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, that's that reminds me of like when Dominic sends me tracks and he's like, I don't know, this is bad. And I'm like, dude, this is awesome. What is wrong with you?
I don't know. I have weird standards for myself, and I don't know why I do it, but I do. It's like I just have like, I don't. it's so weird because I'll show some tracks to people and they'll be like, "Oh, this is amazing," and I'm like, in my head while I was making it, I was like, "This is trash.
Yeah.
Like this is just some generic stuff, and no one's gonna enjoy this." And then they'll be like, "This is really great," and then a lot of the times it will give me new motivation, and I'll feel better about it. But like, I don't know, man. It's just I think that it's probably better that I do like feel that way because then I'm always pushing myself
Correct. Yeah.
to
and,
do
Absolutely.
better.
and artists are always, for the most part, they're not conceited and full of themselves. Real artists are always self-deprecating. They're always thinking that your stuff isn't good enough. But
Yeah,
that
for
also
pushes
pushes you and drives you. The thing that we all have to do as artists is find a good balance where
Right.
there's a certain tipping point where you know it's good enough to publish it. Otherwise, you get stuck in the same thing that a lot of other artists where they're so self-deprecating and so thinking that they're not worth it, that their music is crap when it's really good,
Yeah.
that they never get themselves out there. And some artists literally go to the grave not making anything known, and then someone discovers their like unpublished discography and
Right.
it's like, oh my god, this is amazing, and then the stuff gets published after they're gone, and that's just a shame.
I agree.
So, I always say, never be afraid to try new things. Never be afraid to think a little bit more of yourself so that you can actually push stuff out to the public and let people know that you exist and that your stuff can be heard. Of course, again, the balance is to not get, full of yourself and conceited. And then it's like, oh, well, my stuff is better than your stuff.
Right.
The whole about is to have a humble heart, but also be willing to learn, but also able to have the courage enough to go forward and actually publish your work.
That's actually exceptional advice and very, very well said.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with that entirely. Like I said, I think you have to have a degree of confidence, but it's also good to have self-skepticism, to be very critical of yourself because I think that's, I don't know. It's like I've met people who have no inclination of who they are or what they're making, and they're very deluded, and that's a different, I guess, end of the spectrum.
Right.
But I think it's good to be critical, like I said.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the only way that you learn and that you grow and you continue to evolve your music.
Sorry, I'm also getting my voice back because I was sick for like over a week. So if anybody has noticed in the last like few weeks, I've probably been a little raspy, and that's why I was sick.
Oh, I think it sounds good on the radio. I was listening back to the show before, and you were all like, "Yeah, guys, anybody's," it's like, "Yeah, we got to get Dom sick more often and get him on
The
this radio show."
smoker
Yeah, right.
like all of a sudden I got to talk like this eventually.
Yeah, I would love that.
Like go down to the store and get me a pack of Pall Malls and
There you go.
and a Zacaba.
Now you're getting into the character I'm talking about. That's what I.
There we go.
All right. Wow, it's almost 11:30 here. Anyways, let's move on to this Neutron Dreams block here, and then we'll be back after. So the first song we're gonna play is the Tangent Nights one that Dan has been speaking about, and then we'll see you. We'll talk to everyone after.
Awesome.
back to school sale. Because when you gotta go to school, you gotta go. So go in style to the head of the class. In sweater Vincennes, 25% off. The point is, you gotta look sharp. And you gotta have these sneaks to pass the test. So hurry up and don't be slow. 'Cause when you gotta go to school, you gotta go.
Wow, excellent block there. And I'm not just talking about that last song, which of course I love, but the those first two. So what is happening with all of this stuff now, Dan? This album, I don't know if you're calling this something like with Chris Payne's name in it or something like that, Best of Chris or something, but what's the future plan to release these things? Because those two songs are phenomenal.
Well, yeah, that's and I can't take any credit for those. Those are definitely all Chris. Of course, Tangent Nights was his original that he pretty much submitted to me back in the day, like I said, and then the other song that was played was like I said, the opening sequence to Seven Deadly Sins, when we fired up the game and the mod. So it was made for that, and with some input from me, but again, it was all all Chris behind the actual composing. This is before I even knew what the heck I was doing. But so the idea is that not necessarily under the Neutron Dreams moniker name. I mean, Chris and I still need to work out the details on that. What we're trying to do is we are going to be setting up like this kind of like a legacy discography for Chris that would include everything he has ever done under his Bandcamp page, so that, you know, God forbid something happens, it's there.
Sure.
It's there for everyone to enjoy. And again, it's going back to what I was saying earlier, where, you know, if you're an artist that you're so self-deprecating and that, or you don't have the confidence to release anything, and then you're gone, you know, it's life happens, and you know, life takes you from us. Then what have you left behind? Who can enjoy any of the things that you've done? Unless, of course, you know, you always meant for them to always be just for yourself. And if that's the case, well, then that's the case. But if you were an artist where you wanted people to hear your music, but you never put it out there, well, then, you know, in a way, that's kind of a shame. So this is a way for, not only can people discover exactly the breadth and width of everything Chris has done, which is it's insane how much music he has either composed himself, or he worked with in collaboration with others, or remixes, stuff like that, that no one just knows about, you know, how much music is actually there. So this is a way, and we'll be doing it in kind of like a waterfall type of release. It won't just be like everything all at one time. It'll be a way for everyone who's never heard of what he has done before in the past, or even some of our older stuff, you know, whether it be, you know, his Pyramid of Chaos project or the Neutron Dreams band, that there's just these kind of like hidden gems that are here, there, and everywhere. And some stuff that just was never properly released. It's a way of building and leaving a legacy behind, and also helping to get his name out there. So we're covering, you know, killing two birds with one stone kind of thing.
Right. And he seems like the kind of person, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, where like he wants to have a mix correct in it for what he sees as like a perfect mix sound, right? And
correct.
Without, if he feels he doesn't achieve that, then he'll shelve a project or something like that tons of people might think is absolutely amazing, but he you know, he can't get past that, because I know some people like that, right? So
I can relate to that. I'm
right,
like that.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, like what we're talking about is exactly what Chris and I go through on almost every song. Like even that remix for you, Dave.
Yeah.
I mean, we went back and forth on it, where he was still, you know, hey Dan, I don't know if this is good enough. And then I listened to it, I'm like, freaking kidding me? I was like, this is one of the best songs you've ever done with me, you know. And those remixes, you know, especially, you know, the one for you, the one for Dream Pocket, those were, you know, pure collaborative efforts between, you know, myself and Chris. But there's some stuff where, you know, he's making stuff just for him, or just for the Pyramid of Chaos project, and he'll send it to me. He's like, I don't know if this is good enough, and I have to be like, are you insane?
Right.
You know,
it's like no one's going to hear it poking out at 10,000 hertz, right?
Right. I have to, and I tell him this. I'm like, okay, I'm putting away the band member cap.
Right.
I'm putting on the best friend cap. This is me reaching through the phone, grabbing you by your shirt, and violently shaking you to tell you that your stuff matters, and that is awesome. Let the world hear it.
I get it, Christopher. I know you can hear me, and I have personally. I think we talked about this last week's show. I personally probably have somewhere around like 200 unfinished projects.
Right.
Madness.
Point exactly. Right. So this is part of that, is bringing out, you know, dusting, you know, bringing out of the mothballs, as they would say, some old tracks that either never saw the light of day, or they were published to no fanfare whatsoever, or they were published way back in the day before retro synth was what retrosynth is now.
Well,
so,
also there wasn't it wasn't as easy to share music back
Right.
then like it is now.
exactly.
Less avenues
So-
and everything.
Yeah, and some of this stuff is stuff that he created, we're talking 20 years ago or more, and we're kind of, bringing it back out. Some stuff like I said, we're dusting it off, maybe giving it a little bit of remixing and mastering, a little fresh
Yeah.
coat of paint, and then putting it out there as new stuff, even though it may have been created 20 years ago, so
That's cool. And I can only imagine that this is going to be pretty epic when you start dropping all this stuff.
Yeah,
just-
yeah, it's going to be all inclusive. So part of the marketing strategy of it all is that it's going to be all inclusive of everything he has made. So the Pyramid of Chaos Bandcamp currently, we're going to transition it into just a Christopher J. Payne Bandcamp, and then everything inside of it is going to contain everything of his solo stuff.
Yeah.
Pyramid of Chaos with Neutron Dreams, and of course all of the collaborations and remixes that he has done will all be inclusive in this project.
He just said in the chat that he has about 200 songs just on disc from the old Yamaha QX5 FD from the 90s. And I'm like,
Yeah.
release all of those. Just give those
Right.
to Dan. Trust him to make the choice.
Right. Yeah,
You've heard it from me.
Release the Kraken.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no, I've been we've been going back and forth like this for a long time, and I think him personally, he needs this in his life. So it's something that we're going to work on
Yeah.
diligently to make sure it get done and happen. Of course, that's not going to put any pause on Neutron Dreams or what we're doing for future music and the future of our sound moving forward. This is like on top of that, plus all of the mixing and the mastering and the collaborations that he's currently doing.
Right.
It's still going to keep going. So, yeah, he's going to be quite the busy bee.
That's awesome. What a cool event that's going to be coming down the line, because if you can get even a
I couldn't even
third of this
imagine-
out, you
Well,
know,
I couldn't imagine you telling me that you were going to release my tracks, Dave. Like if you were like, you were going to do it, you're going to release them, I'd cry.
it's happening tomorrow. It's already happening. Dan and I have been working on this.
Right. But please don't show anyone.
Right. This is Dan's big announcement next, right? He's like, we're releasing the Warren box set.
I'd have a heart attack. I'd be like, what? Like at least let me like level them out better or something, please.
No, we're calling the album Your Best Work. And we're
Yeah, the
releasing
greatest-
it.
The greatest
Best work,
piece he will ever
Releasing
make.
tomorrow, that kind of whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So we have three non-retrosynth artists that I asked you, and I also always ask guests to give me some music that inspires them or music that has influenced their sound. And you've got three: one from Droid Bishop, a Michael Oakley one, and a Time Cop 1983 one. Is there anything about those that's interesting to share other than their just musical influences?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, those artists are probably my three most influential artists in my music, and both with Neutron Dreams and with Miami Dan and everything else. But those are the three artists that kind of took me under their wing, especially Michael Oakley. In the very beginning, when I had no idea what I was doing, and I was, in the fledglings of being a young producer with no sounds or anything available at my disposal, except for my copy of Fruity Loops.
Yeah, the built-in synth, right?
Right.
If there was one even back then, I don't remember.
Oh yeah, they
Okay.
had what? They had what, Styrus back then? Yeah, they still have a lot of their
Flex, right? Comes with it now. Is that correct?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Flex.
Flex is new. I
Okay.
think
Just
there
new-
was
the newer one, yeah.
Citrus is what you're thinking of.
Yeah,
I believe.
Citrus. Yeah, something of Citrus.
I've never used FL ever, so I'm just going from things I've heard.
Oh
Yeah, we
There's
know, we
built-in
can tell.
synths and
tell.
VSTs that's strictly under the whole Image Line brand, and I still use them from time to time. So, but yeah, so I had that, and it started off as a kind of a friendship with Michael Oakley, And I started passing him ideas for tracks. He's like, no. He's like, don't you have anything better in your lineup? I'm like, dude, no. And I don't have I don't have money to spend on VSDs. I'm working my butt off 60 hours a week to pay the bills. I don't have money. If I spend money on this, my wife will kill me. So he's like, okay, here. So he sends me this link. He's like, there you go. There's everything you need. I'm like, what's this? He's like, just open it. And here he sends me like all of the preset packs and sample packs and stuff that he made.
Right.
And he continued to do that for a number of years, where he was like just come out with a brand new thing that he's selling on like Splice or whatever. He's like, here, Dan, and just sends it to me. And then all of them giving me sounds and techniques and stuff to use. I'm like, he taught me a lot.
Wow.
And, EQing, mastering, all that stuff. And then that entire first album, he reviewed every song. He helped mix and master every single song. And then our first song that we ever put out, the introduction sequence is all him. That's not me at all. That's just pure Michael. Yeah, and then we blended it into the rest of our songs. So that's the Michael Oakley bit. So, and of course the one that I gave you is a perfect blend of 80s and 90s style, and that's the 90s is the direction that Michael is heading. So I thought that particular song that I sent you, it's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah,
it's got a lot of really good.
The music video itself is mind blowing. That's the vibe. It's the '90s vibe that he's captured.
Yeah.
As far as the Time Cop song, that is quite possibly my favorite Time Cop song and one of my top Stuck on a Desert Island synthwave songs.
Me too.
Ever. And I loved it so much I remixed it, and completely changed it from what it is now. But it's that song that got me into Time Cop. And then again, someone, there's this megastar in our scene who is one of the nicest people you will ever meet, and when we ever do meet, he always walks over, shakes my hand, gives me what I call the Geordie hug. He's on top of his game as far as synthwave, but he's one of the most humblest human beings you'll ever meet. And
that's awesome.
He did the same thing. He's like, Dan, here, I'm going to hook you up. And he gave me all of his sounds, everything. He's like, here, Dan, this is for you. Have at it. Go forth. Do what you got to do. If you want to use my music as inspiration, as an example, I give you carte blanche permission to do so.
It's amazing how your journey in this is being propped up by some of the legends in the scene.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a very unique thing that not a lot of musicians have.
No, not at all. And then the other one, Droid Bishop, the Bish, James as his real name.
Really cool guy, by the way. I talk to him like every other day.
Dude.
Really nice dude.
Super cool dude. I love his, especially his older stuff. The newer stuff is a perfect blend of what I call jazz and synthwave.
Mm-hmm.
Is the newer stuff, whereas his older stuff is more of a space wave vibe, where I would say...
Did you listen to Cinema?
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, I have
Cinema
heard it.
I thought Cinema was really, really good, though. Like,
it's a little harking back to the roots. Yeah. So
exactly, yes.
Cinema's really good. Yeah, and I thought he knows I'm a bigger fan of his older stuff, and he calls me his number one fan, which just, warms my heart to no end.
Sure.
And the one time where he came to this side of the United States, I never thought I'd ever see him. I always had those three, Michael, Geordie, and James on my bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael, I never thought would happen because, he lived over in Scotland and I would never see him. And then he finally moved over to this side because he got married in Canada, and he's a Canadian now.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I'd ever meet him because
we know how we feel about those.
He can never escape Canada. He's like, no, the visa, all this other stuff.
Right.
I leave. And then, I meet him at Neon of all places, and again, first thing he does, he sees me. I just checked into the hotel room, and I'm standing at the elevator to go up, and I look over, and there is Michael Oakley and Karin Zoe Lee walking in from the pool, and they both bum rush me and my son and give me a great big hug, how you doing? How was your flight? All that. And like, these are legends.
Yeah.
You know, legends to me. You know, and it's.
Yeah, to me too. That's why
Yeah.
the story is
It's absolutely amazing, you know.
It's
and
incredible.
Then, where it was like this online friendship that has built into this, you know, and a mentorship that, of course, I can thank him a million times, and he, you know, he's kind of like that person that never says thank you.
Mhm.
he just, you know, he's very reserved about that, which is fine, you know. I fully accept that, but. That's the kind of person he is. And then the same with James, you know, with Joy Bishop. He knows what my number one song is, and it's the one that I sent you. And we, right before that, I found that he was going to be touring. I was like, okay, he's going to be on tour. Is he coming to Philadelphia? That's the next nearest city. And I found that, yeah, he's coming to Philly. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be able to finally meet all three, you know. And then
Right.
he comes to Philly. We're tailgating out in the parking lot, which is really an alley of his venue. It's a little dive place. And he's on tour with Magic Sword, of all people.
Oh, cool.
Everyone's going there to go see Magic Sword.
Right.
Right? I'm there to go see Joy Bishop, you know? So we're out in the parking lot, and he comes up right behind all of us, and he's like you know, he's very tall. He's like a 6.5 foot tall dude. I'm short. I'm only 5'6", and he's like towering over me. He's like, "You're Dan." I'm like, "Oh my God, you're James!" And you know, shake hands, bro, hug, the whole
Right.
thing. And then he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go inside, get a bite to eat, and then I'm gonna go do my thing. I'll see you out there." And he tells me, he's like, "I want you stage side." So I'm right there while he's performing, right in front.
Oh wow.
And he's playing the guitar and everything. And then he starts playing the song. And then he's like, "This song goes out to my number one fan, Dan."
Oh,
And he starts
so
playing
nice.
and he's singing and he's playing the guitar, and he walks down into the fans. And he's like, "Dude, you know, play the guitar, play it." And then he wants me to play on his guitar while he's in the middle of the performance.
Jesus.
I'm like, my head was like exploding. Like the whole performance. And I'm like, "Dan, I don't smoke, but I need a cigarette after that."
Right.
You know, it was just, and that's what I love about this whole community, you know,
Yeah.
is that these people in our eyes are like rock stars, you know, like Bon Jovi, Metallica, you know, or you can, you know, Taylor Swift, whatever.
Right.
But it's like you wouldn't see Taylor Swift interacting personally with fans.
No.
Whereas the synthwave community does that. You know, Ollie Ride.
I mean,
when he
how could
performs,
she
he
really,
sings
though?
on
Let's
the
be
floor.
honest.
You know, Ollie Ride performs on the floor. There is no stage.
Yeah.
He wants to be on the floor with the people, and he walks around through the crowd while he's singing every time.
That's cool. Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
seen him live before. So
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, he's coming to Chicago, I believe, or I just missed him. I'll have to check
he's
into
definitely
that.
one I want to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like his voice. I'd love to work with that dude, but we'll see. Maybe one day.
Oh,
Fingers
yeah.
crossed.
Maybe one day. Yeah, me too, obviously.
Yeah, he's got.
seem to get lucky
he's
here and
signed
there,
with like
so.
a big label, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know.
No,
But
we're
yeah,
a big
those
label.
are the long drawn out stories of those three songs.
So we're already at the top of the hour, so we're going over obviously. But so let's get into this block with these influences, and then we'll come back and say goodbye after
Sounds
this.
great.
So first up is the Droid Bishop song you were talking about, "In Your Love."
these streets with diamonds in our eyes. Out with the vampires under a midnight sky. My mind so hypnotized. It was exciting. It was the 90s. Mama didn't understand it, and Daddy always said that I was going too far. Said there's never any compromising if you try to win the battle to be who you are. I danced to the left, I danced to the right, hold hands with my demons and creatures of night, on an undercover mission to find somebody else like me. Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Someone who can hear me and drink from the light, to see things from the same side. Is there anybody out there? 5 years later, I'm not with the same old faces and dead end places. Things kept going wrong. I'm getting to thinking my daddy was right all along. So will you take a little walk on the wild side? Be careful that you never slip your hands from the wheel. There's never any compromising when you're blinded by reflections from the part of you that's real. I dance to the left, I dance to the right, hold hands with my demons and creatures of night, on an undercover mission to find somebody else like me. Is there anybody out there? somebody else like me? Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Someone who can hear me and drink from the light to see things from the same side. Is there anybody out there?
Easily one of my favorite synthwave tracks of all time is Tonight. What an absolute wonderful track that is.
Yeah, it's real. It's got a really good vibe, man. Like I was a little zoned out. You brought me back into reality there.
Just popping in real loud, just blowing out your whole, Zen aura you're in.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that this whole album will always remind me of. I think I've said this story before, but I used to play it when my daughter was first eating solid foods, and it kind of, I don't know if it would relax her or what, but she always would eat when this album was on. And I'm talking on my cell phone on the counter next to us, just anything to make the music happen, that kind of a thing.
Right.
So Waves will always be a very special EP for me.
Yeah.
So
me too. I mean, when Gracie was little, I mean, she's only 6, but when she was 1 or 2, it was, kind of a rough time for us.
Mhm.
And she was going through a lot of stuff. And one of the only things that would help her relax, calm down, and drift off to sleep when we needed her to go to sleep was Time Cop.
And that's it. Right. We have talked about this before, I think. And it's awesome that we have that kind of same connection with our kids, because my daughter's only a couple of years older than yours, and it was when she was really little as well. And so there's, I don't know, something about that music that is just very calming, but also kind of interesting. And
Right.
the whole album is just incredible.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites, for sure.
Yeah.
And
I just play my music to my kids and make sure that they hear nothing else.
Right.
So that way I'm always the
Brainwashing,
greatest.
man. You gotta start them right,
Yeah. They're like, just listen to this, nothing else. Hey, I got this
Right.
new album from this new person.
Right. There are those kids at school that have no knowledge of any other music, right? They're like, Dad, do you have the new Taylor Swift? And you're like, I do. Hold on. You pull out the new Warren. You're like, it's right here. This is what everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, man.
And when they sleep, I just play it. So
Bolted on headphones, right?
right, yeah, they can't take it off.
Right.
Nope.
Right.
Taped onto their head.
You gotta break in that whole Stockholm syndrome, super early in life.
Right.
Of course, yeah. Obviously, you know what I mean. What I usually do is I just duct tape the headphones.
Right.
to their head.
They cannot remove it. They have to listen.
They
to
have this kind of weird cranial problem happening, but I don't mean it's fine. It's nothing big.
It's probably not related.
Yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with it, but that's fine.
it. Right. Yeah. Completely unrelated.
Two headphone indents in the side of their head. Yeah, whatever.
Stays tight. The tape stays tight.
Right.
The doctor's questioning, like, what's with their head? I'm like,
Oh my god!
Yeah.
You know what's so funny is if I paint this literally insane image of being a parent all the time. Like Dave and I love to joke about this extreme weird stuff that
Right.
we always do. Like, what was the one thing that we used to joke? The punishment cage.
Oh, right. The punishment cage or whatever. Right.
Punishment cage.
It's like, well, send them to the punishment cage.
Yeah, who in their right minds would actually do that? But it's just so hilarious to just say it. I don't
Right.
know.
punishment.
We are literally insane. Don't mind.
Well, I think to be a parent, you sort of have to be a little insane.
Yeah, it's also nice
I'm-
talking to other parents when you're a parent. You know,
Yeah.
because a lot of people that don't have kids, they have a whole lot of opinions on how things should be done.
Right.
And then when you have a
Yeah,
parent
it's
and you're
true.
like, well, we have this rule that we're not supposed to do this, but we did it anyways, and they're like, I get you, brother. I've been there too.
thing
I
I
get it.
The thing I hate the most is the people that don't have kids and they'll be like, where have you been, man? Like,
Oh,
how
yeah.
come you don't go out or anything anymore? And it's like,
It's called children.
Right.
yeah,
It's all-
literally, my whole life is revolving around these 3 tiny humans.
Right. Yeah. There's not to bash or talk bad about anybody, of course. Everyone has the right to live their own life how they see fit. But there's a point in your life where you're together with your, shall I say, single friends. As a single person, and then
Right.
your friend dynamic sort of changes a little bit when you're becoming into a relationship, right? And
Sure.
then
Oh, for
if
sure.
that relationship turns into a marriage relationship, well, then your friend circle changes even more, right? But
Mhm.
then there's the whole with or without children friend circle, and then
It gets tough.
You're focusing on your significant other, you're focusing on your children, and then out of the blue, so and so from back in the day will call you, and they're like, where have you been? What have you been doing? How come I never hear from you? Oh, I've done this, that, and the other thing, but I'm still living out of my mom's basement. I'm like,
Well, it's just
dude.
speaking on
maybe
that.
get your life together, that kind of thing.
Well, not even that. Like sometimes, like speaking on that, like I have friends that are actually pretty successful and single, but their problems are like diametrically opposed to like anything that I like. You know what I mean? Like it's just
problems when you have kids and stuff. Yeah.
it's a vastly different life. Like they'll be like, "Oh man, I went to the bar and I was trying to hit up this chick or something," and I'm just like, I couldn't imagine at my age doing that.
Right. You're like,
Right.
well,
Trying to play the dating game in your 40s,
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. Well, I mean, to them, that's just normal life, right?
Right.
That's fine.
that's what
But
I
I'm
was just going to
saying,
say. It's just their everyday existence is like that.
exactly right.
And that's
It's just hard to
the-
relate.
That's just the path they chose for themselves. So
Sure, yeah.
it's not on us to judge, But when
No,
they,
but
when
I'm
they
saying it's
come
hard
at
to
you,
have
be like, where have you been? And be like, well, this is what I've been doing.
exactly right.
I've been having I've put other people before myself. I've
Exactly, yeah.
I,
It's like
I
you've-
got married. I had children. That kind
Right,
of
yeah.
or,
It's like
hey,
I told my buddies, like, you don't have time to like do the things. Like, if I have time to do anything, it's because I can do it from home and I'm
Right.
not like away.
Right.
But like anything that would take me away from the kids for a long period of time would probably not really. It just wouldn't work. Like it
Yeah,
just
it wouldn't go
unless
that
I was on like tour or something.
right.
Yep. I agree with all of that.
Sorry,
No,
that was
no,
a long rant. I apologize.
no. I'm just thinking like people without kids that are older are hearing us talk and they're like, "This is why I don't have kids because
Right,
I don't
exactly.
want."
And that's- hey, and more power to you, because that's the life that that was either dealt to you or that you chose. Wonderful.
Yep.
There are times where we're like, hey, doing this whole synthwave thing might be a whole lot easier if I wasn't, married with 5 children.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
But
I mean,
then again, my wife and my children bring me joy, so that's the path that I chose. Would it
Yeah,
be
I think
technically
that's
easier?
admirable.
Maybe. Would it be technically easier to become like a multi-millionaire if you were single? Yeah.
sure,
But
yeah.
it's all about the paths that you choose. I'm not saying that your paths are wrong or
No.
correct, but like when you get into that argument where you run into someone from a previous life, a single life or whatever, it's different, and
For sure.
yeah, just saying.
It changes. Yeah. A lot of things change about your life. Like I said, it's one of those things where I've tried explaining this to my buddies, but I was like, I didn't know I wanted kids before we had kids because I was
Right.
very much in new musician mode and playing gigs and stuff. So I wasn't thinking about kids, but when we had kids, it was the best thing ever. Like, but it's not for everybody. And some people probably do benefit more from not having them. It's really, really tough for me to like put myself in that mindset now. of
Yeah,
not
it's hard to
having-
live that different
Yeah,
life.
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I could never imagine.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
my children. Yeah.
Well,
and-
I just remember being bored a lot. That's all I remember.
Right.
When I was single, and didn't have kids, I remember thinking, man, I have no time. And then I had kids and I was like, dude, I really have no time.
Right before you're like, man, I had so much time. Right.
I had so much time on my hands.
Yeah, I can
What
remember
was
the last time I was bored. Bored has been replaced with like maybe doing things you don't necessarily want to do.
You do?
But,
Right.
but
Yeah,
I don't think there's ever a time where I'm just sitting around being like, what do I do? I don't know.
But being a parent is essentially just doing things you don't want to do. That's really all it is forcing yourself
A lot of the
to do a
time,
lot
yeah.
of things you don't want to do. You know what I mean?
Right, especially when you're as busy as us and we have way too many things to do.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I have a house. I have a house full of 3 kids and 3 dogs, and I'm busy all the time. Like, not to mention that I'm like talking to like, various artists, and then I'm trying to make music, and then, collabs and all this other stuff. So it's a lot of time taken up doing that stuff.
One day, Dan, you'll understand what that's like. So,
Right.
but
yeah.
but we're about to be at a cutoff point. So with that joke,
Yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah,
think
we
we're gonna
gotta-
have to wrap it up here. But Dan,
Good way to end it, I think.
Dan, thanks a lot for coming on. I'm really happy we were able to work this out with your, with working and everything like that.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
been a pleasure. Like whenever we talk, I
Thanks for
always
taking
feel
the time, man.
real good, man.
Oh, likewise. This has been an honor to be on the Retro Synthwave Hangout.
Well, and this is all thanks to you, letting me start this and do everything. And so I appreciate you very much for that.
Oh, you're
For
very
sure.
welcome.
We
I
appreciate you, man.
appreciate everything that you guys do. So, this was great. We got to do this again.
Yeah.
Of course.
For sure.
If
Yeah, we
you
got
don't
more to
have a
come,
million
man.
Other artists that are going to be on, of course.
Yep. Every other week is Dan, right? Dan's week.
Right. An hour all day, every day.
I think next week's actually going to be the first week we don't have a guest because we're trying to do like 1 week a month where it's just the two of us, doing our
Nice.
normal thing.
Yeah, do
But yeah,
a little bit more music, more back and forth, that kind of a thing, and then get back into guests and stuff.
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. All right.
So-
Well, Dominic, thank you as
Love you
always.
all.
Always a pleasure.
yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you, everyone in the
Always.
chat who came by and everyone who's listening afterwards. And
Yeah, I saw CJP dropped by for a little bit.
Yeah.
That was awesome to see him in there.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah, and that he caught part of the show, that just warms my heart.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I always like when he pops in.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 songs, and then the stream's going to end. And just once again, thanks everyone who came, and Dan, thank you again. A real pleasure.
Sure.
And we'll
Thank you.
talk. We'll talk soon.
Yep.
Love all of you.
All right, bye everyone.
See ya.
saw the moon rise. I crave a rush, a dangerous touch. Ignite my soul again. I miss the fire inside my heart. The kick drum tells me to start. I'm on the edge, I'm feeling it. I need my blade again. I need my blade again. My blade again. I need to feel the thrill of a lifetime, and I know it's there just beyond my reach. I need to feel the thrill of a lifetime, and I know it's there right in front of me. The days are so long, and I grow old. Bring me adventure, ignite my soul. Where is